A lot of people would tell you the Digimon TCG is more like the Greymon TCG or even the Gallant TCG, but I would argue there was another deck that throughout the years was blessed with support here and there, Red Hybrid.
Yeah, baby!
From BT4 to 2.0, the boss monster has made a leap between Ancientgreymon to Emperorgreymon, that there are now 5 unique level 6s for the deck. One more and we'll have a third of the amount of War Greymon Megas. Now you might think Red Hybrid is in the name, hybrids that go into Red Tamers, specifically Takuyas. How much more complicated could it get? However, if you played the deck for a long time like I have, it's not really that simple. The deck has different ways to play it. The question is, which is your preferred playstyle? Well, how about we take a look at the different ways to make Red Hybrid and see which playstyle seems the most viable. The first deck we're going to be looking at is pure Ancientgreymon. Taking it right back into 2021, Ancientgreymon made its first appearance in BT4, kicking bodies and doing massive checks. Only problem was the 5-cost Evo, but using the promo Goonie from the Great Dash pack, you swing with it to warp into Ancientgrey, or even having it in your stack lets you Evo into an Ancientgrey for 2 less, making you climb faster to do your combos. At the time it was okay. Alongside cards like BT4 Aldemon, you got to do some strong early aggression, and later wrap the game up with Ancientgreymon. Besides getting a rookie out of nowhere in BT6, the support from BT7, like Pokemon and Aldemon, and especially Takuya, really did help speed up the deck a lot. Aldemon now giving Ancientgrey built-in ADP, but also using BT7 Takuya's effect, which I've come to know as warp cancelling, can allow you to tuck multiple promo Goonies underneath him. Then you can go into your level 6 for 1 cost, or even free potentially. 1 Blitz Omni for game, and you got yourself a certified OTK deck. Problem is, too much setup is needed. And sure, you got the red mem boosts, but if you're just gonna play a red deck with that much setup ending in an OTK, just play War Greymon, it's more consistent. Now imagine my shock 3 years later in BT17, Ancientgreymon comes back for its rightful throne, but it also brought some friends. Using BT17 Agunimon and Bernie Greymon, you get to do the same combo like Promo Aguni, but now you can do it on Tamers, which helps solve a massive issue of the deck. And using a very specific stack, you can OTK on turn 2, which is insane, though the high roll needed is extremely slim. So how is pure Ancientgrey? Right now, it's the strongest it's ever been, thanks to not just the BT17 support, but also cards from 2.0, like BT18 Aguni, Gigas, but more importantly Takuya and Koji, copying a similar effect to BT7 Takuya. However, it's a memory setter, and the inheritable letting itself blitz as long as you stay in line, lets you constantly swing, which is another huge problem of the deck, now solved. Here is a deck list for pure Ancientgreymon. This is my own personal build actually. Some cards you consider running are the Gotumon from BT14 and the Shamanmon from BT18 or 2.0. They're good tech to have, and cards you consider replacing are the Crimson Blaze and maybe a couple of the BT7 Flamemons to make room for them. But overall, this build I'm pretty confident in. Now you might be wondering, hey, Ancientgreymon is cool and all, but there's a reason why he's not on all the protagonist art. Give me Emperorgreymon! Well, that's a perfect segue to talk about pure Emperorgreymon. Now jumping back to BT7 once more, Red Hybrid was an interesting deck to play. The boss monster being just Blitz Pass was a rough time to play, and hoping they forget the if blocked effect so you gain a buttload of memory back. The only standout cards being BT7 Takuya and Aldemon were the 2 cards barely keeping the deck alive. Thankfully, BT12 gave us every single improvement the deck needed. Level 4s that weren't vanillas, a memory setter with an inheritable, and most of all, a real boss monster. Since then, Red Hybrid went from niche fun deck to top tier rogue, matching the likes of Mirage and Ulforce. Red Hybrid was doing great until he appeared. And since then, more Digimon with protection / floating kept showing up to the point where deletion just wasn't cutting it anymore. However, thanks to BT17 giving us a new Takuya and Burning Grey, it helped to not only speed up evoing into Emperor, but now incentivizing swinging into bodies with Raid and Piercing, so you aren't skipping out on tempo. Just how is pure Emperorgreymon? It's okay. Personally, I prefer Ancientgrey more since you can go into your boss monster faster and with a lot more recursion, but going pure Emperor can be more consistent since you aren't looking for specific pieces to do your combo, but just play normal Digimon while going into a really big guy. Here's my deck list for pure Emperorgreymon. I haven't really done a whole lot of testing with this since I mostly play pure Ancientgrey, but I do like how pure Emperorgreymon is a lot more faster to play when you're not looking for the pieces, and you can even work with low memory numbers since you're evoing for 2 even on your level 3s and not just your tamers, which can really help when you're trying to build up a stack. Huh? What's that? You ask what if you took hunters and mixed in hybrids? No? Well, too bad, because the next deck we're talking about is Takuya Hunters. Okay, I won't really talk too much about this deck. We already have a 20-minute video on the channel going over the deck, but to briefly recap it, the deck has an interesting gimmick, but misses all the points that made Hunter a solid deck by not letting lines just evo off each other and not really having a strong payoff. So how is Takuya Hunters? No. Just no. If you want to play it for fun, sure, why not? It has some interesting gameplay, but would I use it in a tournament? Heck no. It's way too slow. And besides Emperorgrey and Takuya, all the other cards just suck. Maybe one day it'll be good, or we could just play the deck, you know, as intended. Here's my deck list for Takuya Hunters. I have played it a few times and I do enjoy how the deck works, but man, when you are missing your pieces or have to go a Beast Spirit off the wrong tamer and costing you 4 memory, it just sucks. So it's a fun deck to play and the pieces are kind of cheap, but don't expect to do well in some kind of regional or anything. Man, this deck really tried to do a lot, but just couldn't really get there. I mean, it tried to take all these hybrids and mix them together into one deck. Wait a minute, mixed hybrids? Mixed red hybrid. Yes, there is in fact a way to have the best of both worlds. By utilizing both BT17 Ancient Grey and BT12 Emperorgreymon, you can now run 6 of a card that does virtually the same thing. Granted, 1 on a lesser scale, but play in a similar style back to BT7's version of the deck, where you use Ancientgreymon for early swings, then Emperorgreymon to finish the game if needed. The longtime viewers may have seen my deck list for the Niagara Regional where I scored top 16! -1. But regardless, I'm happy with how I did, and utilizing both was really effective in keeping my opponent's board in check while swinging in. Using the BT17 pieces to climb up to Ancient Grey, later deleting itself at the end of turn, which helps fill up your trash for BT7 Takuya to warp into Emperor Grey. Also, the fact that Ancient Grey can grab back anything with hybrid and traits lets you really synergize these two. So how is Mixed Red Hybrid? While nowadays I personally run pure Ancient Grey, Mixed is nothing to sneeze at. It lets you constantly keep your opponent's board in check unless they have him. But besides that, the consistent tempo can sometimes help compared to gambling to find your pieces. This is my deck list for Mixed Red Hybrid. This is kind of based off the BT17 list I ran for the regionals, just more updated with the BT18 cards. While I still do prefer the pure Ancient Grey, the mix can really pull some good results when you need it, and on top of that, just allowing you to do more with your pieces rather than looking for something specific. So don't sleep on this deck. Overall, Red Hybrid has a multitude of ways to play it that are extremely viable, besides Hunters, that can still make waves in the meta. Whether you want to play Ancientgreymon, Emperorgreymon, or a mix of both, you can play whichever to your heart's content. And with BT21 coming up soon, including even more support for Red Hybrid, now is a better time than ever to start picking up the deck. As long as you remember the phrase, hybrid for game. Thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. This was a nice way to do a year-end wrap-up for Red Hybrid, basically letting me talk about both waves of the support into one video and kind of just talking about the different ways you can play the deck. This video is also heavily inspired by Pro Ninja's video on the Lord Nightmon builds, so please give that a watch if you can. I think it's a really great video and was a huge inspiration in me on making this. Thank you again for watching it. Really hope you enjoyed it, and 2024 was a really good year for all of us. Here's looking for 2025. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. This is Takuya. Peace out.